What is up, guys? I'm Mikey31 here. Little Madden 20 Weekend League as we wind it down. I haven't played in a couple of days. Had to decompress. Had some stuff going on as well. And, you know, life is what life is. But anyhow, here we are, firing up some games. And just wanted to touch on a few things with the first round of Madden 21 news coming out in a couple of days. And we already know when the game's going to be released in late August, August 25th. So there's only really so much Madden 20 that you can really play anymore. Here I am firing up some Weekend League. These are my first three games, and you know how Weekend League rolls. If you've been playing Weekend League this year, a lot of mindless people. Your first, 5 to 10 games are going to be lots of mindlessness, and really, you know, 90% of the people that you're going to be playing are going to be bad. Anywhere between let's call it 8% will be average, and 2% will be your top 100 guys, your pros, your guys that are content creators, your Twitch streamers who finish in the top 100 pretty regularly. Those are your top 2%. Let's call those guys the elite, and the 8% outside of the 90% are your average to good everyday players. So, for most of your games, you're going to be facing, schlock. That's just the way it is. But anyhow, what should I do? Do I roll out the 4 wide again and endure the 146 madness that's sure to come at some point? Do I maybe run a quote unquote traditional offense and play some under center stuff just for kicks and giggles? There's just not a whole heck of a lot there, and not a whole heck of a lot left to talk about. I'm not going to really get into the whole EA license renewal thing. That's been spoken about on podcasts already, and I've listened to those and participated in discussions along those lines. I mean, look, if you haven't figured out that the NFL and EA are a happily married couple, go ahead and feel free to waste the next 5 to 6 years being mad about it every day on social media. I mean, have at it. You really have only a couple of options now. You either play the game if you like it and have avenues to seek enjoyment out of it, or you move on to games that you'd rather play. And if moving on includes spending your time complaining about the game every single day for the next 5 to 6 years, knock yourself out. Y'all have fun with that. So that's really three choices. And that's really all I have to say about that. I don't enjoy talking about the politics of the game and conspiracy theories because it's just not, it's just repetitive circular conversation. But anyway, we do know that we are receiving our first bit of Madden 21 news, and we honestly don't know all that much about what that's going to entail. But what we are certain of, I can pretty much guarantee that you'll still have player abilities in the game. And I figure, why not take a little bit of a rundown of what were the most toxic abilities of Madden 20? There were quite a few of them. Earlier in the year, you had Armbar and Enforcer, and the reigns of terror that they had. Two monumentally overpowered abilities at the time, where everyone was playing the Dallas Cowboys and just taking advantage of that team having star players on the offensive line and just using Zeke Elliott stiff arming people, left and right and into the friggin' ground 6 feet under. And on the other side of the ball, you had Enforcer, which was basically the defensive equivalent of Armbar, where you could have your defenders just being human missiles and just launching themselves into defenders and forcing fumbles, left and right. Jamal Adams with my Jets was basically a one-man defense in online CFM, just blasting people. And that was a problem with a lot of the abilities. They were severely overpowered, a lot of them, without a lot of counters that balanced them out. Some of them were so overpowered that it rendered abilities that you would think were designed to counter them useless. Like human joystick just completely eliminates the effectiveness of your run defenders. If you have tackle supreme or no outsiders or inside run stuff. You can kiss that goodbye because a human joystick back can just weave through the pursuit without losing any speed or momentum at all. You had the Moss X Factor that was pre-activated, which allowed you to basically get a free completion downfield over your entire defense for one, play. Or Eric Dickerson being activated for 5 carries or 5 plays where he breaks the first tackle attempt by a defender, no matter who he is, every single time. Those are the kind of things where abilities just completely unraveled and lost their way. Especially in online CFM or offline CFM, I play in a 32 man user controlled leagues, as you guys all know. Those abilities, players' abilities, they skyrocket after year 2. Going into year 3 and 4, 70% of the league has superstar abilities, and we had to turn them off. How the MUT side had the good sense to cap these things at 3 superstar ability players on each side of the ball, and the CFM side basically had a dang free for all where you could have conceivably your entire team with superstar abilities at CFM, and it completely imbalances the league. The route abilities were very strong. No one talked enough about the route abilities because everyone was running the football. The route abilities were potent as hell, and what made it worse is that you needed route abilities in order to get separation on your routes, even if you had good route running receivers, but they just did not have an ability for for a particular route. Like you could have a 90 route running receiver, deep route running receiver, but if he does not have post or corner elite, good luck getting him open on those routes. He's going to run those routes at 2 miles per hour. And if he does get open or get separation, he might not catch the ball half the time. It just rendered, it just caused massive balancing problems. But if you are blessed with a receiver with those abilities, you can have yourself a dang party. Like you saw what I did with the Bucks in online CFM with Mike Evans. Mike Evans had streak specialist and curl specialist. He was unguardable. Anytime he was one on one, that ball was being thrown right to him. If he was pressed, it was an automatic touchdown. If you were playing off coverage, you at least had a fighting chance. But he was just early dominant for me, and that goes with any other receiver that had abilities. Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, any of them. Now in the MUT world, now every corner is rated so high that you don't need universal coverage, manned up, or zoned out to counter those guys. But again, playing with regular teams, balance issues. You only have so many ways to bracket one of those dudes. And again, if you don't have a corner with those abilities, even if he's a good player, he's going to get scorched. You needed a Stephon Gilmore or Jalen Ramsey that had the coverage abilities in order to have a chance, unless you had guys with pass rush elite who could dish rag your all pro offensive tackle before those routes can get down the field. Unless you had a tackle or an offensive lineman with, guess what, an ability. And then you have the Deadeye ability. Some of them really potent, especially cross-body or the no-look Deadeye, which allowed you to make cross-body throws accurate down the field. I didn't really mind dashing Deadeye all that much. Actually, pretty much a necessity given how often you have to throw on the run in this game when you're playing head-to-head. But that no-look Deadeye with those cross-body throws, that was a circus act. And that was really the whole game. If you're playing head to head, stocking up on those abilities and letting it go and letting them rip, while the players on your field that did not have them were underpowered. They underperformed. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this vid. Just wanted to touch on that and kind of like recap the year somewhat. But yeah, that was the story of Madden 20. Madden 21, I'm curious to see how they evolve it because they ain't going away. They're here to stay. But anyway, love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you all later. Peace.